So till now we understood how to use the data items, right? Now these variable, like the data item, right, they are there some things which are used within the process, right? Now, but now let's assume I need a global level variable which can be used in all the application. Let's see an example. So let's assume that I want to automate the google.com. So I want to spy and automate that. So in so this is an example, right? So but if you do in a real time development, let's say that during the real time development I am doing development on the test version of the google. So this is just an example, okay? There is no test google.com, but I'm just giving you an example like this. Let's say this is a test version of the google.com. So I will do my development in this version, and this is, let's say, the production version. Okay, now let's say that I am this is something. So all the processes whichever is used, which will be built and will be using, let's say, google, will be using in the same way. Like the development will happen in this environment, because developers might not have access to the production environment, right? Sorry. And the production will be this one, right? So all the processes, if have to access or have to access one, so url, right? So url, I don't want to use the same url for all the processes in like locally, right? So for using it to globally, what we use is global environment variable, right? So I think we said last time that or previously when we were looking through, we said we'll cover the exposure later, right? So there are three types of exposure. One of them is environment. So let's understand this because this is important. Okay, uh, so we cannot, so if, okay, let me select the environment here, right? So if you see, you cannot do anything here. It will not allow you to do anything here. It will disable it, right? So where I can create an environment variable is if you go to system and then you go to environment variables. Okay, so environment, I think these two are actually same. Okay, either under process or under object, it's same. Okay, so okay, let me remove it. Let me create a new delete selected item. Okay, so let's say I am adding the google url. Okay, sometime if okay, it's not that always we will use these like only the variables which will be global, I mean used for multiple processes, we put it here. That's not always the case. Okay, it is something which we will not be changing a lot and which will be changing only in the environments. I'll give you another example. Okay, first let's see the implementation. Okay, so now since I'm in the development, right, so I'll do the development. So I will use the test version of this google. So there is some sort of visibility issue, so let me open it here. Okay, so this is what I have used, right? So apply, sorry. So now if I go here and let's say, let me create a separate variable. Okay, okay, sorry. Yeah, so let's say I want to use, okay, so here I cannot create a variable, right? I cannot create something here again, google url or something. So what I simply do is I go to environment. Okay, and here it gives me it's not properly visible, I don't know, there's some problem. Let me get bigger. No, it's still not visible. Okay, but here there is, let me select, then you will be able to see. So I can select, so all the environment variable, if I select environment, I can directly see all the environment variables. Okay, so So now you see, I can see the environment variable and see the values also are automatically coming. It's not allowing me to do anything on this. So initial, final value, everything will be the same thing, right? So what happens is when this code will be moved to production, right? So in the production, the the variables, the variable will be changed and point to the production version of the code, right? So it will be like this. So now we don't need to. So what happens is, now if I refresh, it should have happened. Okay, let me see it got refreshed or not. Let me go to environment variables. Okay, it didn't get refreshed, sorry, this did not get saved. Okay, so apply. Yeah, now it got changed. Now let me go and refresh. Yeah, so now it got changed, right? So this is what will happen. So in production, when the code gets deployed, and the variable will be set by administrator that okay, it will point to the production environment, the code will automatically get updated. See, I didn't come here and update, right? It automatically get updated. So the first point is that any change, let's say tomorrow there is a new URL coming for Google. Okay, so we just, and let's say 10 processes are using this URL. Okay, so if we just manually go and update here, it will change in all the, I mean, it will get reflected in all the 10 processes. Okay, now one thing is, you process inside the processor object, you cannot change an environment variable, right? Because this is environment related. Because if a bot is changing the environment variable, it's risky also, right? Because it is going to impact other bots, right? Another so this is one point you have to remember. You cannot change that environment variable in your process, you cannot update. And second thing is, okay, as I was saying, it is not always that environment variables are such that it will be such variable which will be used for multiple processes. That's also not true. Let's say if it is, you assume it like to be a variable, it's not only related to that. Okay, let's say, as I give you example, right, that URL, right, it's an example where maybe it might be used for multiple processes. But there might be examples like one of them is email address, right? So let's say in my dev environment, right, I will be, let's say I have a process where at the end I have to send an email, right? So in the dev environment, I'll not send to the end users, right? Because it's just, I'm still developing. So for test, during that test cycle, I will send that email to myself. Let's say I have a UAT tester. In the UAT, I have an UAT tester. So in UAT, that email address would be for the testing team, right? Or the tester who would be testing the bot, right? And in production, the same variable will be updated with the email address of the end user, right? So this is a variable which is changing in each environment, right? Also, let's say I have, okay, let's just to show you to just show an example. Let's say I have let's say process 1 send to email. Okay, so I have a process 1 send to email, which is a text. Okay, and let me make it bigger. So let's say I have user1 at the rate gmail.com. So first 6 months, these were the users, this was the user who was using this report, right? Then suddenly the user's manager said that, okay, I also want to get the report, right, in the production. So this is happening in the production. Okay, So the users manager say that, can I get the report from tomorrow? So for that, we don't need to go and change inside the process. We'll just come to the environment variable, and then let's say manager email address is user2. So I will just update the email address here. Okay. So if I update the email address, it's not visible here, but yeah, both are there actually. Okay. So if I update here, it will automatically get like the user will start getting that email from the next run. One point to remember here is these variables don't change during a process run. For let's say my bot is already running, okay, and user 2 at that time user 2 and came and told, I want the report at the end of the process, so can you please include my email address. So even if the admin comes and adds his email address here, but since the bot is already running, when I change this email, I added the email address here. Let's say I am the admin, okay, I added the email address, but for that particular session where the bot is already running, right, in that session the user will not get the email because it was before the start of the session. This email address was not there, right? So on the run, on the fly, we cannot update. To update something on the fly, that is where our second let me go here, our second exposure will come, and that is nothing but your session variables. Okay, now session variable is something which we can update on the fly. Okay, I will show you this example after some time, but yeah, this is something which we can change. So I'll tell you best use case of it, which also Blue Prism suggests. Let's say I have like thousands of record to be run in a day by a bot, right? But suddenly I know that application where I am, the bot is automated, the bot has automated, the application has have some downtime, but it's not a fixed downtime. Let's say maybe 5 p.m. sometime it goes down, but it goes down only 1 hour, right? So in that case, I don't want my bot to run at that point of time when there is a downtime of that application. So my application team calls me that, okay, today the application will go down by 7. So now bot is already running, right? So I can actually build my process in such a way that it will try to look for this session variable where it describes the time. So it will come and say, oh, since 7 is the cutoff time, I will put, let's say, 6:45. Okay. So when it's the bot is running from, let's say, morning 10 o'clock, and I got the information at evening 5 p.m. that was from 7 the systems will go down, so your bot might not work. So exactly at 5 I will go and update my session variable saying that please stop the bot at 6:45. For safer side, I'll put 6:45, and then I don't want to abruptly stop the process, right? So what will happen is it will, let's say, as I said, I have 1,000 requests, so assume that now at around 6:30 it is running, the number of requests completed was 648, right? After that it is, so it will check at 6:30, has it crossed 6:45? No. Then let's say it ran 2 more requests, it became 6:50. By the time it completed 6:50, once it completes a request, it will always go and check this session variable that timeline has crossed or not. So let's say by the time it completed 650 records, the time crossed 6:45 p.m. Okay. So what will happen is once it crosses 6:45 p.m., the bot will stop, because I am saying that after 6:45, if the process like after 6:45, the bot should stop, right? So on the fly, I can go and change the session variable. I will show you an example. Okay, it will go and the admin can go and change the session variable to stop the bot. So this is one of a use case. There can be other use cases also. Like as I said, right? I know there is a process where suddenly someone will come and ask to send that they want a report. Let's say it's not very static. I know that it's changing at times. Some people will just call and say, can I get a report at the end of the day? from the bot. Then what happens is I can go and on the fly, like in the previous example I showed, right? If I add user 2 when the bot is running, it the in the environment variable, if I put it, the user will not get the report because it was not there in the starting of the process run, right? But if it would have been described as a session variable, and if I go and update the session variable and add the user 2, then user 2 will also get the report at the end of the run. Okay, so I hope it is clear. I'll show you the example of a session variable. Okay, another one is statistics. So this is something which was from the version one of Blue Prism. Okay, this is no longer used. To be frank, I have not used this in any of my process. So basically, because this is somewhere, this is mostly for audit statistics, and it is like these days statistics can be built using queues. So from the time queues have come, I think we are using queue for statistics building. Okay, so this is no longer used, but in case, so but this has not been removed in later version because you maybe uh, people who have implemented the first version and would have utilized this in their processes, then those will not work, right? So that's why this is not yet been removed by Blue Prism, but normally we don't use it. Even if you use it, so what happens is whatever variable, like statistics variable we put, so on the fly, on the run, whatever value comes up, right, it gets stored into the database under statistics, and then that variable value and the variable will be visible here under audit statistics. Okay, so these are the three exposure level for the data items. Okay, I will now let's understand the session variable. Okay,